Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Comic Book Club. My name is Matt Lasik. I'm your host. I know a lot about comic books.
I'm your co-host, Kendra Forte. I know nothing about comic books.
That's the dynamic. As always, as is tradition now for opening of our episodes, I'm double checking the episode number because I never check beforehand. I was right. This is episode 20, so I think I'm 2 for 2 now with having the correct episode number. Today we're gonna jump right into it. Today we're covering James Tynion. I'll never know. James Tynion the Fourth's "Something Is Killing the Children," which was an interesting publication history. It was initially just going to be a 5-issue limited series, and then the first 5 issues got so much attention that it was extended to 15. And just recently, I think like a month or two ago, Tynion announced on his Twitter that they were extended for another 15.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're on hiatus right now. So now is the perfect time to catch up. We will be talking about all 15 issues, which sounds daunting, but some of those issues, nothing really happens in. I think there's one issue where I have literally 2 bullet points for. So we will be moving very fast, but the comic moves kind of slow. So it evens out. Or does the comic move fast? One of those. If it moves, no, it moves slow, because if it moves fast, we'd have more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we're going to jump right into this. But before we do, actually, never mind, we're not going to jump right into this. I want to say that my biggest praise for this is really the art. The art is beautiful, it's gory, it's horrifying, really just fantastic artwork. Done by Werther Delendra, and covers by Giovanna Nero. So, props to them. Great artists.
I'm not really one for gory art, but this one I liked.
Yeah, it's good. Issue 1. In the small town of Archers Peak, Wisconsin, something is killing the children. Ha 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 ha. Including the friends of a young high school student?
Maybe?
Late middle school? I think
late middle school.
At the oldest, maybe freshman high school.
Yeah.
Middle schooler. Including the friends of middle schooler James, who witnessed the monster doing it. And I feel
like witness is a soft term for getting brutally murdered.
Well, he wasn't killed.
You said the friends of James witnessed him.
No, sorry, including the friends of James, who witnessed the monster doing the killings.
James witnessed.
Yes.
Friends were brutally murdered.
Yes, yeah. Friends dead. James alive. Covered in blood and severely traumatized, but James alive. And this isn't like, like monster as in like this person is a serial killer and they're a monster. Like, no, it's like a big spider thing with a very phallic body and like claws and teeth and 8 eyes. Like, this is a monster. And a mysterious young female monster hunter who we later learn is named Erica Slaughter. Great naming there.
Great naming.
Who is, we don't know much about her, but we do know that she is clearly very experienced in hunting and killing monsters, specifically monsters that kill children. She shows up in Archer's Peak to kill it and asks James for her. She doesn't ask. James asks if he can help her. And that's the end of issue 1. Like, the issue 1 is a lot of like, I don't know, build up and tension, which doesn't really translate well to talking about plot summaries because there isn't much plot. It's either like, ooh, spooky shadows, or someone being ripped to pieces and having their skin flayed off and they're still alive, but they're just a torso as they slowly gasp for breath. That kind of stuff. That's a lot of issue 1.
It was very fun to read, not fun to talk about.
Yes. Yeah. Great. Honestly, great first issue.
It's a great first issue. It's a great time.
Yeah. Just like clearly sets it up like, all right, here's your monster, here's your monster hunter, here's your traumatized local that wants to help. Bing, bang, boom. We're going to get to it.
Because I originally just had the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were giving it away for free at the comic book shop. And I was like, wow, I have to read all of this now.
Yeah, so issue 2 established that adults are unable to see the monsters for some reason. James and Erica go to a fake Applebee's or like a Chili's or something, I don't know. And they start pulling out maps and plans and stuff. the manager, a man named Tommy, who is the older brother to one of the missing kids, sort of gets up in their business, and he gets absolutely bodied by Erica. And she's like a full half foot shorter than him and everything.
But she looks terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's got, like, this is another thing that's in art. Like, she's got these big old eyes. And I know that sounds weird, but, like, none of the other characters have eyes as big as she does. She's got very big eyes with very large irises, so they're very, like, noticeable. And she's got, like, platinum blonde hair, so yeah. Anyways, Tommy gets bodied. No sympathy. I mean, okay, yes, his sister died, so that's kind of
That kind of sucks, but...
I should mention that, like, a lot of kids have gone missing, but James is the first kid to have encountered it and survived, so now he has, like, this weird... You know, it's a small town, so people are kind of like, oh, what if James has something to do with it, even though he's, like, 12? So I think that's why Tommy sort of approaches them.
Because it's easiest to blame it on his 12-year-old.
Yeah. Erica keeps getting phone calls from some sort of supervisor, and she also talks to a stuffed octopus that talks back to her. So that's neat.
It's a very adorable looking octopus. Like, this is a child's plaything.
Yeah, it's an old stuffed animal, and it turns out that this stuffed octopus is home to another monster. But a friendly one, question mark?
I think it was one that killed children, but then
yeah, we learn more. We learn more about what's in the octopus later on. But yes, it is also a monster that killed children, and now it's an octopus and is helping out Erica. Issue 3. Tommy and friends blame Erica and or James for all the different disappearances and deaths because this is a small town in Wisconsin. And if someone is abnormal, then you hate them.
Then obviously it's a killer.
Yeah. Also, James is gay, which they do establish in the first issue. So it's not like it snuck up on, but like it's still like, oh, so you're blaming the gay kid for it? Okay, Wisconsin. No, okay. I'm sorry, listeners, if you're from Wisconsin, but like, come on.
But it's Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin. Yeah. So Tommy and friends blame Erica and or James, and they imply that they're going to get revenge. Erica gets picked up by the local cops and ends up talking her way out of it. It's like the thing like, you're going to receive a phone call and you're going to let me go. And the sheriff's like, what? And then he receives a phone call and lets her go.
Yeah.
Girl just like, I have connections and you're a sheriff of a podunk town. I'm out of here. That kind of thing. James has stopped going to school because everyone thinks that he killed his friends.
I would also stop going to school.
Yeah. He and Erica kind of bond a little. It's kind of cute. They do a little like bonding. Like, oh, you know, we see monsters and that's kind of messed up. But like, you get me, and I get you. Anyways, let's go buy some weapons. That's issue 3. Issue 4, James and Erica go to a hardware, like a fake Home Depot type of thing to just buy weaponry.
They're like, what's the worst chainsaw you have? What's a chainsaw that absolutely has no safety features?
Yeah, it's a very cute thing where Erica's at like the chainsaw department and there's a salesman like, oh, this thing's got like all sorts of this is like the newest top of the line, got all safety features. If you like let go of the trigger, it'll stop immediately, finger guards. And she's like, nah, what's the oldest thing you have that will not stop no matter what it hits? I found the exact quote. It's can I see the crappy rundown models, the ones that keep ripping through anything and everything like they've got a mind of their own? I love Erica's character. She's so fun.
I love Erica.
Yeah.
Her character design, her talking. I love it all.
Yeah. We see more of Tommy's home life. His parents are divorced. His mom is like basically a husk of a human being after her daughter has disappeared. And his dad is... He wears a wife beater and sits in a dark room that's only lit by a television. So he's that character. We see him
and also he lives in Wisconsin. Yeah.
We see him like twice throughout the series, so it's not really important. Anyways, Tommy gets a gun. That's what you need to know about this scene. Tommy gets a gun. And then we learn more that like not only can adults not see monsters, they're also not fully like part of our reality, so they can kind of like phase through objects if they so want to.
As you expect from a monster that adults can't see.
Yeah. I think it's specifically that, like, there's another, like, murder scene where, like, the monster burst through the wall and killed the children, but, like, the couch that was in between the body and the hole in the wall is untouched. Like, that kind of thing. Just weird supernatural stuff. Sorry, I lost my point in my notes. Erica then confirms that adults can't see monsters because they don't believe in them anymore.
It's like a Santa Claus thing.
Yeah, or like a Peter Pan fairies thing. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah. You can only see the monsters if you believe in monsters, if you're afraid of the dark and stuff like that. There is a cop that has been following Erica since she was arrested. Tommy knocks him out and blames the cop for... he specifically...
Hey, this is... Whatever happens next is on you.
Yeah, he's like, he claims that what happens next is the cop's fault for not keeping her locked up. It's like, if you had done your job, I wouldn't have to kill her myself. Like, okay, Tommy, whatever you say, man. I'm sure you think you're in the right. James and Erica then arrive at the monster's nest, which is in like a cave in a ravine. Erica goes in alone, finds like a big pile of mutilated, half-eaten bodies. At this point, Tommy shows up.
Because of course he does.
Because of course he does. He finds Erica standing over the bodies, assumes that he's correct in thinking that she did it. All the meanwhile, the monster is like approaching from behind Tommy, and Erica's like, Tommy, you need to move. And Tommy's like, no, shut up, I'm gonna kill you now.
You know what? Tommy gets a bad rep. If I also saw this creepy girl standing over a pile of mutilated bodies with nothing else around, I would probably also come to the wrong conclusion.
Considering everything that has been presented to him that he has witnessed, Tommy just does what will be done naturally. Doesn't mean I have to like it though.
I love characters who think they're right.
Okay. Tommy does improve over the course of the series, but I don't like early Tommy.
I also love characters who know they're wrong. I love all characters.
That's issue 4. Issue 5, James and the octopus doll are hanging out outside of the cave nest, and the octopus starts talking to James. There's this kind of a jerk and like goads him into entering the nest.
As you would. If you were a monster stuck in an octopus doll.
Yeah.
I would also start messing with little kids.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact wording, but I'm pretty sure it's the energy of like, what are you, a pussy? Go in the cave, man. Let me actually pull up. Because there's a certain energy that is had.
Punk.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it is. The octopus is like, man, this is probably your fault. And James is like, no, it's not. Then do something about it. Okay, I will. Erica starts fighting the monster. Again, I have to praise the art. The fight scenes especially. The reason that we're able to do 15 issues in one episode is because a lot of it is just Erica fighting monsters. And it's done beautifully, but it's like 5 pages of just Erica fighting monsters in some issues.
I also love that everything is blue. Everything is tinted blue.
Yeah, a lot of this happens at night, and it's Wisconsin, so there's not like light pollution. So yeah, a lot of it's like midnight blue. Yeah, Erica's fighting the monster. Tommy freaks out and starts shooting wildly, and he shoots James! Tommy shoots a kid! The 3 of them then sort of manage to drive the monster off and hide from it in the cave. They also find a little girl, Bian, who comes out of the depths of the cave to join them. Bian has managed to survive and like hide from the monster this whole time. So she's like their best witness, basically. She's even younger than Tommy, though. She's like elementary school age.
This is a baby.
Yeah, a little baby covered in blood and scars. Erica then grants Tommy the same ability that she has, which is like the ability to see monsters as an adult, so that he stops freaking out and yelling a whole bunch.
By stabbing him in the side of the head.
Yes, by stabbing him in the side of the head with what looks like a fancy fountain pen. But it's, I don't know, it's not even like, I need your help, so you need to see what I see. It's literally just like, you are being loud, you're going to get us killed, you need to see what will kill you, so here. In the, like, sort of awakening process or whatever, we see what Tommy sees, which is like a weird vision sequence. We see, in this vision, we see other people who also have, like, bandana masks and stuffed dolls with monsters in them, similar to Erica's. Like she's a part of a larger group of monster hunters or something like that. I'm putting it in vague terms because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Tommy then carries Beyond and James out of the cave while Erica kills the monster. And it turns out the monster had babies, and now they're loose in the town somewhere. There's 5 babies, 5 baby monsters just running around.
Just
That's neat.
doing whatever baby monsters do.
Yeah, that being eating children.
I thought it was established they couldn't eat children because they were babies.
I'm not sure. I know there's like a thing where like the longer they're left unattended, the more they'll grow, and the more. No, it's. I think it's like they have to kill and eat children to grow bigger. So they
something is happening because they're small.
Yeah, it's something. I don't know. Issue 6.
At some point, Beyond is like, they're just babies.
I think that's because Beyond is a naive child and thinks babies mean good.
Yep, that's fair.
Like, oh, a kitten! That has to be, like, a good creature. It's not malicious. Even though it's like, cats don't have the concept of malice regardless of their age. Beyond just, like...
has a concept of malice.
It's the Mark Twain thing where it's like, a tiger is not evil because it doesn't have the concept of evil. Only man has the capacity to be evil. Have you ever heard that?
No, but that sounds dope.
Yeah. It's a really interesting way of thinking of like, animals don't have a concept of good or evil because they just do what they do to survive. And it's only because man has self-awareness and the ability to perceive what other creatures think and feel, and that gives them the capacity to do evil.
This is a conversation for another time.
It's not like this is a super deep thing. But the comic, that is. Issue 6. At the hospital, Tommy confronts Erica while they look at James in his hospital bed because he was shot.
Because Tommy shot a child. Tommy
wants more information about the monsters and Erica's whole deal, and Erica's basically like, nah.
No, thank you.
I'm not going to tell you anything. You shot a child. Tommy gets hostile, so Erica breaks his arm, continuing the theme of Erica bodying this large man, and I love it.
Tommy has it rough.
Yeah, he does.
It sucks to be Tommy.
And then Erica's basically like, I broke your arm so that you will stay in this hospital and not get in my way because this isn't over because there are babies. Which, like, good on Erica. And then it turns out the cops found the nest. So that's neat. Erica visits Beyond at the police station. Confirms that the octopus is sort of like a containment unit for another monster that is like being forced to help her. Beyond knows that there are 5 babies. So that's fun. Meanwhile, in Chicago, we see the House of Slaughter, which is the headquarters for the Order of St. George, an ancient monster hunting family or guild or whatever. And they all wear like masks, some sort of mask where there's like a bandana or like a metal mask with like interlocking teeth similar to what Erica has.
It's dope.
That's a very dope design. And they all have like little raggedy stuffed dolls that have monsters in them. Erica's bosses are unhappy with her because she's... this is explained more later on, but I'll just talk about it now. The Order of St. George prioritizes making sure that no one knows about the monsters over saving every possible life from the monsters. Because they believe, like, if we just focus on keeping it quiet as possible, then there won't be, like,
mass hysteria.
Yeah. And I kind of get it, because, like, they're created and then fueled by the fear of children. So, like, if you tell a child, hey, monsters are real, they're obviously going to get scared. So I get the thinking behind it. But as we've seen in these past 6 issues, Erica has been more prioritizing saving lives over keeping it hush-hush. So her superiors are unhappy with that. They're especially unhappy with the fact that she gave Tommy the ability to see monsters instead of just, like, killing him. So they plan to go to... I've forgotten the name of the town. Archer's Peak. They plan to go to Archer's Peak, relieve Erica of her duty, aka kill her, and kill Tommy. And that's the end of issue 6. Issue 7, the police have moved all of the child bodies to the school gymnasium for identification. Erica, meanwhile, is hunting the babies as Aaron, the man that she had been talking to on the phone in earlier issues, and sort of her direct superior, arrives to decommission her. By the way, Aaron is hot as hell. Do you disagree?
Gay.
I'm not gay, I'm bi. I can say this. I think Aaron is really fine. Do you disagree?
I don't remember what Aaron looks like.
Go to issue 7. That's where he appears to chat with Erica about her performance.
I swear if he's not hot, I'm going to be so upset.
He's got very piercing, like, orange eyes.
Oh, this guy. Yeah, this guy's hot.
See? I was right. Anyways, Aaron and Erica argue about, keeping it quiet versus saving everyone. Aaron plans to use Beyond as bait to kill the babies. And he kind of cajoles Erica, being like, you don't care about this kid, James. You were just using him to mask her sin because James has already been in close contact with the monster. You don't actually care. I'm morally superior, blah, 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 whatever. And the officer that had been following Erica the whole time, the same one that Tommy knocked out earlier, heard the whole conversation. And he's like, monsters!
I can't believe he hadn't heard about the monsters before now.
Since he's been following Erica this whole time?
Since he's been following Erica the whole time.
Yeah.
And they've not mentioned monsters.
Yeah. Basically, so now Aaron's heading to the police precinct to get Beyond to use as bait. Erica is heading to the police precinct to stop Aaron, and the cop is heading to the police precinct to stop them all. So it's this big tension build-up. A lot of these issues are honestly just big tension build-ups, which is why we're able to just kind of fly through them. But the art's fantastic, and the people in it are varying levels of hot, so I'm down with it.
Yeah.
Issue 8. James wakes up in the hospital room. The sheriff is in the room with him. James basically spills the beans about the monsters and what Erica did to Tommy, giving him the ability to see the monsters. Erica, Aaron, and the cop, who we learn his name is John, all arrive at the station at the same time to get Beyond. Aaron to use her as bait, Erica to protect her, and John also to protect her, but also because he's mad at Erica. And the 3 people show up they all want the same child, and they're all angry at each other. The nice old receptionist lady that's been watching Beyond the whole time goes to call the sheriff, gets absolutely bodied by Aaron for no reason. He just was like...
I thought it was hilarious.
He could have just like broken the phone or something, but no, he just decides to knock out an old lady.
He said, "Time to go night night."
Yeah, kind of needlessly, but whatever. Erica then uses this opportunity to get the jump on Aaron, knocks him out, and lets John take Beyond to protect her. Good job, Erica. Meanwhile, Tommy. Meanwhile, at the school, all of the parents and families of the deceased have arrived to, start the process of identifying the bodies.
Their children.
Yeah, including Tommy and his mom. It's at this point that Tommy spots the babies behind the school, and he's like, I gotta take care of this now, even though he has no experience. The only thing he's done in this series is knock out a cop and shoot a child, but I guess he can take on 5 monsters. So he runs.
He's trying his best. He said, I'm going to do
what
something.
I can. Yeah. So he runs into the woods behind the school, and they get the jump on him, just like immediately.
Like, you get his elbow, I'll get his kneecaps.
Yeah. Issue 9, 3 randos wander into the woods, like older brothers of one of the kids that was killed. Mm-hmm. They wander to the woods. They get killed by the babies, who have now grown more to like adolescent size. So they went from like the size of a large dog to the size of like a mid-sized sedan. Yeah. At the hospital, meanwhile, Erica visits James, who has since realized that Erica never really cared about him, and that she's not as like calm or in control as she seems. Just like the thought of like, oh, my hero is just another human being with failings. That sort of realization that happens in like every coming of age, which I hate. I don't know. I don't like this convention because it's just like, yes, it is something that kids realize, but I view it as a lazy way to shoehorn in conflict between two protagonists, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, yes, your, older cousin or teacher or whoever you look up to when you're in middle school is a human being, and yes, they have failings, and yes, no one's actually in control. That's not a reason to get angry at them. That's just how the world works, bro.
But that's a whole other realization.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's just angsty middle schooler things. Erica then confesses that she actually does care about this town, and because she had a very similar experience to James. In her instance, her parents were killed by a monster, and the monster that did it got put in the stuffed octopus by another monster hunter. That monster hunter then took Erica to the House of Slaughter and sort of like adopted her and brought her into the fold.
That's kind of messed up that you would give the monster that killed someone's parents to them as a stuffed animal.
I don't know. I think it's like a restitution / revenge kind of thing, you know? What are they going to do? Just put in a stuffed animal and then throw it in the closet?
Give it to someone else. Give her another monster.
Erica initially joined the House of Slaughter to do good and save lives, and then eventually realized that the Order, like we said earlier, cares more about keeping it all hush-hush and just like suppressing all the news and whatever. They care more about that than they do about actually saving people and killing monsters. At this point, Tommy manages, sort of like through the grapevine, Tommy manages to get a message to Erica about where the babies are, that being in the woods behind the school. And the cops find Tommy covered in blood with 3 random people's bodies. No monster in sight because the cops are adults, and they're like, cool, so Tommy's killing people now.
The whole town is just going crazy.
This just keeps happening. This is like the second time, I think.
The second time where someone has just stumbled onto a person covered in the blood of children.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, the third, because the first was with James.
Ah, yes.
The second was Tommy found Erica in the cave, and now the cops found Tommy.
It's messed up.
Yeah. That's the end of issue 9. Issue 10, Aaron arrives at the scene of the random people being dead while Tommy argues with the sheriff. Aaron convinces the cops to leave and then basically just gets ready to kill Tommy. He injects him with like a sedative so that he can't run away.
Aaron came to do business, and that is what Aaron will do.
Yep. At this point, James and Erica show up to the school. They get the lowdown of the whole situation from the sheriff. James is basically like brought into the school to be safe. And Erica and the sheriff run into the woods to stop Aaron from killing Tommy. At this point, this is when Aaron drugs Tommy when they show up, and Erica starts fighting Aaron. Eventually, she manages to convince him to help her kill the monsters instead of just killing random human beings. At this point, the monsters have finally reached the massive crowd of children outside of the school, where all the parents are waiting to identify the kids. I don't know why it took them so long. It took them like 3 issues to do this. But the monsters start tearing into
random kids.
Just random kids in the crowd. It's a really just viscerally beautiful scene where like a little girl is lifted into the air by something invisible and then just ripped in half. So we see what it looks like when one of these kids are killed from like the
parents' perspective.
Yeah, from the perspective of one of the parents, which is I don't think we had seen it before. So
everyone in this town will be scarred for life.
Yeah.
I think Aaron would be doing them a favor if he killed them all.
Well, it's a good thing the rest of the Order exists. At this point, Aaron sacrifices himself to the monsters he sort of like distracts them and starts fighting them and gives the whole crowd enough time to get inside the school building. And that's issue 10. Issue 11, the Order is unhappy because videos of Aaron and other children getting ripped apart by something invisible have managed to reach social media, and they end up sending a full contingency of Order hunter people to hunt to Archer's Peak. And it's pretty much just like, yeah, we're probably going to kill the monsters, but more importantly, we're going to kill all the people that saw the monsters, because that's what we care about, because we're the villains now. And there's stuff of like, oh yeah, like our connections, we managed to cut all of the telephone lines and like all the, we get
social media is down, everything.
Wi-Fi's down, phone connections are down in Archer's Peak. We see snapshots of them like driving to Archer's Peak, and every sign that says like Archer's Peak on your left, like they cover like closed for construction type of thing. So the Order is setting up a quarantine zone around Archer's Peak, basically, where nothing can get in or out. And then at the end of issue 11, Erica and James sneak out of the school and draw the monsters away. Issue 12, it starts with Erica fighting. She manages to kill one of the 5 monsters, leaving 4 remaining, but gets pretty badly injured in the process. She and James go out to where John, the cop, has been hiding beyond.
And it's a very crappy location.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
He like took her to his like mom's house.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. I think I forgot to mention this, but it's been mentioned a couple times throughout that since James and Beyond are the only 2 that have survived encounters with the monster, they can be used as sort of in a sort of bait ritual to draw the monsters to a specific location, which is why Aaron went
Beyond. Yeah,
which is why Aaron went to get Beyond in the first place, before he had his realization and got murked, which is the clinical term.
The only scientific way to say that.
Yeah. We see the Order getting closer. Again, they're like closing off ways in and out of Archer's Peak as they get closer. Erica gives John all of the lowdown about monsters and whatever as the Order arrives at the school. And this is when it sort of had been softly talked about throughout, but this is when it's hard confirmed that like the monster came from James. Because how monsters work in this world is that like if a kid has concrete enough fears, then those fears will take shape and become a monster. Manifestation. It's at this point that the Order arrives at John's parents' house and slit John's throat. So that's fun.
This is a bloody comic.
Yeah. So now the Order are both at the school and at John's parents' house. That's the end of issue 12. Man, we're blowing through this way faster than I thought we would.
Yeah, because there's not a lot in it.
Yeah. Issue 13. The Order members at the school manage to kill one of the monsters outside, and they get ready to kill all of the civilians inside the school because they're jerks. John, in his last moments, as he's bleeding out of his throat, basically just pops off with his gun and distracts the Order members there long enough so that Erica, James, and Beyond can escape. Then the Order breaks into the school as Erica begins the ritual to draw the remaining 3 monsters to her, using the monster in her octopus as sort of a focal point. Issue 14, the ritual begins, which involves James reliving the moment he first conceptualizes the monster, so we get to see a little bit more of at least more world building of like how monsters are formed. Meanwhile, in the school, the Order has rounded up everyone and takes everyone's like phones and cameras and any other recording devices that they have on them, and are basically like, cool, now we're gonna kill you. At the ritual, the octopus monster turns itself into a sort of hologram copy of the original monster taken from James's memory to draw the offspring to it. And then Erica fights the remaining 3 monsters. She is tough.
I would take a nap.
At the school, Tommy tries to... This is Tommy's big redeeming moment. Because he sort of hasn't really done anything significant.
Tommy has tried his best.
Yeah.
I am Team Tommy.
So Tommy's big redemption is that he tries to convince the Order to leave by sort of pinning it all on himself. If the public believes that all the killings were just from like one crazy dude that killed a bunch of kids instead of a monster, then there's nothing to cover up, and therefore no reason for the Order to kill everyone. And then the sort of the lead Order member there pulls out an axe and just says, quote, "There's a cleaner way to end all of this."
Obviously, axe murdering everyone in the building is the cleaner way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Final issue 15, and we're only 35 minutes in. Yeah, we could talk about the Snyder Cut after this.
Do you really want us to talk about the Snyder Cut? Do you want to get that angry right now?
We gotta talk about something.
Okay.
Issue 15. Erica kills the final 3 monsters, calls the remaining Order members at the school, and they take Tommy's deal. Now, there's no monsters at all. At all. There's no reason for them to kill everyone, so they take Tommy's deal. We cut to a week later. Tommy's version of the story makes national headlines. We see everyone in Archer's Peak dealing with the situation, including Beyond, who now lives with the nice old receptionist lady.
Good thing she wasn't killed by Aaron completely knocking her out.
Yeah.
Just completely knocking her lights out. Because that does kill old people.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. She is sort of, honestly, Beyond's the only character that has, like, a happy ending. You know?
She had a really rough beginning, so it about balances out.
Yeah, I'd say so. Erica is at, like, the Greyhound station to get out of town. She has a conversation with the old dragon, who is the head of the Order. They sort of talk about how Erica's methods don't really line up with the Order's methods anymore. And the old dragon's like, yeah, that sucks. Anyways, you gonna come home, or... And she's like, nah. She ends up renouncing both the Order and the House. She gets on a bus to leave. Turns out James is on the same bus. It's a very funny moment where she gets on the bus and James is like, oh, hey. And she's like, no, you're not coming with me. And he's like, no, I know. Turns out James is going to Milwaukee to live with his mom, since everyone in Archer's Peak thinks he's either a killer, a dirty gay, or a dirty gay killer, because it's a small town in Wisconsin. They have a very touching closing moment where he thanks Erica for letting him help, because it gave him closure, since it was sort of, in a way, his fault. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they both leave Archer's Peak, with Erica going on to do bigger and better monster-killing things. And that's Something is Killing the Children. I say I would recommend this just for the art alone. The
art alone is fantastic.
Yeah, the story is like... I mean, it's like it's good, it's serviceable, but it's not like anything to really write home about. The art is really what makes this significant, you know?
It's something fun to read through.
So let's... oh, you know what? Since we have this time, I wanted to... I've been sitting on this for a while, and I never had the opportunity to circle back to it. Do you remember... I can't remember what... A couple episodes ago, we were discussing... I think it was the one where we were discussing all of the Green Arrow subsidiaries, for some reason.
Okay.
And I mentioned how DC loves having their, like, mysterious Asian woman who does a lot of martial artist things. Turns out that's a trope, and it's called the Dragon Lady. This was brought to my attention by one of our listeners. Thank you, listener. From Wikipedia, Dragon Lady is usually a stereotype of certain East Asian and occasionally South Asian and or Southeast Asian women as strong, deceitful, domineering, mysterious, and often sexually alluring. So it's a thing. Cool. And I was listening back to the episode, and I listed off like 3 or 4, because we were specifically talking about the most recent Red Arrow, Emiko Queen. And I was listing off all of the potential dragon ladies that could have been her mother. Turns out, I didn't even name the one that was hers, because there are just that many. So that's sort of wrapping that off, like 3 episodes later. We could talk about the Snyder Cut. We could also talk about Marvel's, Activision's, Sony's, Square Enix's Avengers, because a lot of stuff has happened regarding that.
We talk about this like every other week.
Yeah, well, stuff keeps happening, and it's something that I put money into, so I care.
Okay.
So, Marvel's, Sony's, Activision, Square Enix's, PlayStation's Avengers released their first major content pack, introducing Hawkeye to the game. And they've also revealed that later this year they're also going to be adding Black Panther to the game. So Hawkeye's sort of story pack involves a dystopian future, sort of focusing on a possible future version of the Hulk named the Maestro that pops up a lot in comics. He's got a mini-series going on right now. It's just like old Hulk and also a dictator. And this was very funny. I have 2 headlines. First one comes from Kotaku. It reads, Hawkeye can't save Marvel's Avengers. Next one comes from PC Gamer. It reads, Hawkeye hits a bullseye for Marvel's Avengers.
Very mixed reactions to Hawkeye and Marvel's Avengers.
I mean, very mixed reactions to Marvel's Avengers in general. I think I'll let it sit for a little while still. I think a big patch just released recently that it was supposedly a lot of bug fixes, but I will let it simmer until Black Panther comes out, and then I'll see if they fixed it enough for me to play it. Because I'm still gonna play it someday. I'm not gonna.
We'll get around to it.
I'm not gonna spend money on it because I got like the exclusive pre-order bundle, whatever. So I have to play it, or else I just wasted like $80. So I'm gonna play it, and I will talk about it on the show whenever I do revisit it, because it's one of the first things we talked about. It was like episode 2, is named specifically over how mad I got at it.
Yeah.
So look out for that one, I guess. Let's talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Before we do that, can we talk about Red Sun?
Sure, yeah. So Kendra and I recently watched 2020's Superman Red Sun, which is an animated adaptation of the comic series Superman Red Sun, which we will cover one day. It is an Elseworld story, which is DC's umbrella term for like an alternate reality timeline thing that doesn't really intersect with like the main storyline. And this is an Elseworlds that covers like what if Superman's rocket had landed in Russia in like the 30s instead of in America. So full-grown Russian Superman in the 50s, how that affects like Cold War and stuff. Really fascinating. One of my favorite Elseworlds. Did you have any specific thoughts on it that you wanted to share?
I like that no one was the hero, really. Like, yeah. Even Superman was kind of questionable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a Mark Miller thing, I guess. I'm pretty sure the original comic was written by Mark Miller, who has also written Jupiter's Legacy, The Authority, the one that I can't say on air, Kick, and then The Word for Butt.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, he wrote Kingsman, which was adapted into a movie series.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote Civil War, which was also adapted into an MCU movie. So Mark Millar, and that's Millar, is a very well-known comic writer, and this was one of his projects. And yeah, that's sort of an ongoing theme in his works, that like people are complex and there's nothing really. Sometimes there isn't a hero. But yeah, we will. That's sort of a preview to whenever we do cover Superman Red Sun, which will probably be in the near future at the very least. Keep an ear out for that. Now can we talk about?
Yes, we can talk about Zack Snyder's.
So longtime listeners know that I don't like Zack Snyder, specifically how he portrays comic book heroes. In an older episode, I discuss how he doesn't get the point of Superman and Batman as characters. So to take you down a little trip of history, after the release of Man of Steel, which was his first like DCEU thing, and Batman v Superman, and including Justice League, because I think he was like executive producer on that or something. After the release of Batman v Superman, Snyder started working on Justice League. Not Zack Snyder's Justice League, the movie. This was in like 2015, 2016. But Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad got such poor reviews that Warner Brothers kicked him off the project before the movie was done. And they brought in Joss Whedon to finish the movie. Finish filming, rewriting, refilm and stuff.
Isn't Joss Whedon the Marvel guy?
Joss Whedon is known for doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, the first Avengers movie.
There we go.
Yeah, so it was just, and this is where we get into the problem with the Justice League movie, both versions. A little less so in the Zack Snyder cut. DC tried to hit what Marvel had already done in like big team-up movies without doing any of the groundwork that Marvel did. So before Marvel released Avengers, they had 2 solo Iron Man movies, 1 solo Hulk movie, 1 solo Captain America movie, and 1 solo Thor movie. And then did they release a movie that was all 4 of them teaming up. Yeah. What DC did was they released Man of Steel, then they released a team-up movie between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, And then Suicide Squad, which is a team-up movie between like 10 characters that we don't know any of them about. And then they released Justice League, which is like 10 more characters that we don't know anything about. So they just skipped over all of the groundwork. And no, they didn't even assume that we knew those characters because they still took the time to try and squeeze in their origins to like Batman v Superman and Justice League. So it's just, it's very messy. But yeah, they were like, hey, Joss Whedon did Avengers, so he can fix Justice League. So then Justice League 2017 came out. It is not good. It's not a good movie. It's this weird Frankenstein hybrid between like Zack Snyder pretentiousness and grittiness, and then like every 20 minutes there's a weird Joss Whedon joke put in there, and the mixture doesn't work. There's the cohesion is not there. So like, for example, Bruce Wayne shows up at some like Icelandic town or Nordic town, wherever, somewhere where it's cold and wet a lot, to hunt down Aquaman, and like there's this like all of the people in town are there to see it and to kind of worship him a little bit, and Bruce Wayne is like, I need to find the man and blah, 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 help me fight aliens or whatever, and Aquaman like slams the bug against the wall, and then he says, oh, I heard you talk to fish. And so it's I don't know, it's weird. I feel like a Joss Whedon Justice League could have worked. Yes, it would have felt very similar to Avengers, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's because it's half Justice League. It's half Zack Snyder and half Joss Whedon, and they're like opposites in terms of directorial styles.
I don't think it would have ever worked just because they ignored so much of the groundwork.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. So yes, Justice League 2017 released, got absolutely wrecked by critics and fans alike, and then would start a 4-year campaign of Zack Snyder fanboys crying on Twitter about the so-called Snyder Cut. These people, and I really want to drive home the point of how they just don't get how movies work. They thought that Warner Brothers had on a shelf somewhere a fully completed version of Justice League that coincided with Zack Snyder's wishes. So for years they cried about releasing the Snyder Cut. And eventually it got to a point where Warner Brothers conceded and agreed to do a Snyder Cut. But that required getting Zack Snyder back to do rewrites, reshoots, re-edits, just
That's
whole...
a lot.
Yeah.
They had to basically do a whole new movie because it's 4 hours.
Yes. Yeah. So that happened, and then it was released like a week and a half ago on HBO Max. The movie is 4 hours long, over 4 hours long. It is in a 4:3 aspect ratio to coincide with Snyder's quote-unquote artistic vision.
I don't understand why anyone's artistic vision would include a 4:3 aspect ratio.
It's because he thinks it's cool. And that's
What
really...
about that is cool?
Well, it's because he thinks IMAX theaters are cool, and that's the aspect ratio for IMAX theaters. Even though this movie is being watched on people's televisions or computer screens, which are all in 16:9, because it's HBO Max. But sure thing, Zack Snyder, whatever you say. This movie has this cut of the movie just bleeds with sure thing, Zack Snyder, whatever you say. And Snyder, the one rule in Snyder's directorial style is if it's cool, I'm doing it. Which is why the movie is in 4:3, which is why Superman is like an emotionless god, which is why Batman shoots people with guns, which is why every time Wonder Woman appears on screen, there's this annoying and repetitive, like, vocal thing that happens. Like, every time she does, like, she could walk through a door to order a bagel, and the soundtrack would go, ah! The movie also looks boring. The color palette, all of the colors are somewhere between black and brown. It's all just like, it's a very dull palette. That I think that is the one thing that the 2017 cut has over the Snyder cut, is that the 2017 cut has colors in it, and the Snyder cut doesn't. I will say that I do think that the Snyder cut is better than the 2017 cut, but I still don't like it. It's still not a good movie, in my opinion. And you can have differing opinions. That's fine. It's movies are a piece of media, so there's no right or wrong,
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's still bad. The fact that it's 4 hours, that gives us a lot more running time to explore the new characters of Cyborg and Flash and Aquaman, which they really didn't do in 2017 one.
They didn't do it in. I don't think they gave Flash enough backstory time.
Yeah.
In the Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah.
They kind of just threw Flash in. They gave Cyborg a lot of backstory, which I appreciated. Flash, they just kind of threw in there.
Yeah. There's also a very problematic Flash scene. Because they do the thing a couple times that they did with Quicksilver in like the X-Men movies where he moves really fast and time slows down. But wherein the Quicksilver sequences were all like fun action scenes or like rescue sequences, the Flash watches his crush get into a car crash, and then as she's floating through the air, he caresses her face for a while.
Oh yeah, that was creepy.
And then saves her. And it's very uncomfortable to watch. I don't know. This is just nitpicky. I don't like Cyborg's design. I like it and I don't like it. I like that you can see the parts of his body that were rebuilt that look like, like how human musculature and like skeleton structure would work. But the very outer layers have like this weird geometric design to them. And it just looks ugly to me. But this is another nitpicky thing. So it doesn't...
There was no reason to give him that much metal. He had enough body left, I think. They left part of his eye human-ish, and the rest was all metal. I don't understand that. What's the point?
Cyborg design, not really great. But that's nitpicky. So yeah, the official comic book club rating of Zack Snyder's Justice League is a thumbs down. Don't watch it. It's 4 hours you won't get back.
I give it a solid 4 out of 10.
Wow. I was thinking like a 5.5.
I was so bored.
Yeah. It just has the same issues that all of Zack Snyder's DC movies have, where there's they try to do like big emotional payoffs without doing any of the prep work. So like there's a whole thing. A whole part of the story relies on Zack Snyder's Superman having a strong relationship with his Lois Lane, and they just don't. There's no point in Man of Steel or Batman v Superman where we see that relationship being built, or we just don't see the relationship at all. There's never like them just hanging out and like being in a relationship. But she's supposed to rescue him from his like post-revival madness just by her presence. But that, again, requires her to be important to him. Which, in this timeline, she really isn't. So things just don't work. And that's something that, like, editing just can't fix, because you're trying to get payoffs without any of the groundwork. There's more I could say, but we're running kind of short on time, I think.
So what are we covering in 2 weeks?
Next time, and this is in response to the recent release of... Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we are going to be looking at a storyline from the portion where Sam Wilson, also known as the Falcon, was operating under the Captain America name. So this is it's called the hashtag Take Back the Shield storyline, and it is in Captain America Sam Wilson issues 14 through 21, collected in Captain America Sam Wilson Volume 4, hashtag Take Back the Shield, and Volume 5, End of the Line. I will give it a content warning. There is depictions of police brutality and racial violence and stuff like that. So this is a very mature topic, but I think it's one that is very much worth covering. So again, that is Captain America Sam Wilson 14 through 21, collected in volumes 4 and 5. Next week we will probably be we'll be doing headlines, and we'll also be doing a lot of prep work, because there's a lot of this was happening in 2015, 2016. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the world of Marvel that you kind of need to know before you can read this. So that is what we will be doing next week. We'll be doing just general backstory on Sam Wilson, as well as talking about what's happening in the world of Marvel at the time of the storyline. So we'll see you next week for that. If you want to talk to us about like literally anything, if you have headlines you want us to react to, if you have topics you want us to cover, something, a character or a family of characters you want us to deep dive, if you have stories you want us to read, literally anything, you can tweet us at cbbcpod, that's at cbbcpod on Twitter, or you can email us at cbbcpod@gmail.com. I have been your host, Matt Lasik.
I have been your co-host, Kendra Forte.
And until next week, Excelsior!